Hello and welcome to Greenbird Farm Kitchen. Today we'll be showing you how to cook our premium product, which is the Ostrich Fillet. And for this, a very simple recipe. All you require is of course the meat itself, 25 to 50 grams of butter depending on your tolerance of butter, a garlic clove for each portion, salt and some cream cheese. So the first thing to do, we'll go over and we will drain the meat. So to do this, you make a cut in the vacuum. And what we want to do here, we want to get it nice and dry. So when it hits the pan, it seals instead of creating steam, which will cook it in a way that we're not looking to do. So first of all, we're going to pat it dry. At this point, it's recommended that we leave it to stay at room temperature for approximately an hour. So we'll just put this here and we'll come back in an hour and we will make it. So it's now 1 hour later. Our ostrich steak has adjusted to room temperature. This is approximately 400 grams of fillet. So it's 2 portions and we'll try to portion it approximately evenly. One side is slightly thinner than the other. And what we're looking for is approximately 2.5 to 3 centimeters of thickness. So the recipe that you will be following now is for a steak of this size. And you can of course adjust the time of cooking up and down relative to the thickness of the steak and your own personal preference. For this guide, I will be making it to medium rare. The first step of what we'll do will be to warm up the pan to the highest possible temperature. While we wait for our pan to heat up, I'd like to tell you a few words about the meat itself. It's one of the healthiest meats you can buy on the market. It's very low in saturated fats, very low in cholesterol, very low in fat. It has very high protein content. If you look at the meat itself, you can see there's virtually no fat. Even though it's a red meat, the fat is not incorporated within the meat itself, like with ruminants. It's actually separate in the same way as chicken or any other kind of poultry would be. And we remove this before cooking. So now our pan is as hot as it can possibly get. It's been sat on the hottest setting on our cooker for the last 5 minutes. And first thing we'll do, we'll seal the meat. So I will show you, pick up the first piece of meat. And what we're looking to do here is to seal the outside, but keep it red inside and trap the juices within the meat. So we'll start on one side of the pan. Flat pan, nothing inside. And we're looking to do this for around 30 seconds. One way to see is you watch the sides of the meat. As soon as you see the browning starting to occur on the sides, you flip it. We're approximately 10 seconds in now. So I'm starting to get the beautiful smells coming from the ostrich meat now. It's lovely. I can start to smell a little bit of burning, which is fine, which is what we want. We're here to blacken the meat. Very important to notice now, when I move the meat, I'll move it to another side of the pan because that side of the pan already has started to cool. As you can see, it's had a perfect browning and sealant, exactly that we were hoping for it to do. And we start to get some caramelization here on the edge. This is where the blood is coming out and it's caramelizing in the pan, and that will give us that beautiful meaty flavor. So now we've got the meat sealed. There might be a little bit of red in there like that, but that's not to worry. If you're worried about it, you can always touch it there to brown it. What we don't want to do, this is very, very important, we don't want to overcook the meat, because once you've overcooked it, it's very difficult then to uncook it. It's a good idea to leave it for approximately a minute or so for the pan to reheat, because as you can imagine, the cold meat goes in the hot pan and the hot pan itself gets cooler. So now we've let it reach optimum temperature. We will take the second piece of meat, and as you notice, this is a slightly thinner piece of meat, so I'm going to cook it for less time. And one thing you will notice with our meat is that it has no additives. So it has no saline added to it. So when you cook it, it stays the same size. It starts to move and contract, but you don't see any fluid coming out of it. Whereas if you were to use supermarket bought pork or beef, they're micro-injected with saline. As soon as you start to cook it, the water starts coming out. So now we can see the little brown edges here. That one's okay, ready? And we'll go here now. It's very important as well to not put any kind of significant pressure on the meat. Never press it down, because all that does is forces juice out and it achieves the opposite of what we're trying to do here. We have sealed everywhere. We have some form of caramelization. You want to slice your garlic thinly because it will caramelize more fully. So now our pan's cooled a little bit so we don't burn the butter, and we're going to add the butter and the garlic to the pan. And the objective here is to start to caramelize the garlic, but without burning the butter. Okay, so now you can see our garlic is caramelized, but before it starts to burn. So what we'll do now is we'll fish out these bits of garlic because their flavor is perfect as it is now. We don't want them heated anymore. And this way we can control the flavors. And we're going to add the meat for the second cooks. So now this goes in, and we'll put it as high as possible again. Okay. And you're going to want to cook it in here for a further between 30 seconds and a minute. Get it nicely coated with the butter, get all that flavor in there. You can see the sheen is now starting to form on the meat. Just watch it very carefully so you don't overcook it. Always with meat, you have a little bit of juice that comes out of the meat. We can't 100% stop it from coming out. You add that to the pan again, and that will caramelize and make the delicious flavor that we're looking for. Now it's off the heat, so the meat is cooling, but I want to continue to just toss it in that butter. The more you toss it, the more of the flavor will get absorbed by the meat. Every meat you cook needs a little bit of time to relax, because as soon as it touches the heat, the muscle fibers contract and the meat becomes a little bit tougher and not as pleasant to eat. So we're not in a hurry. We will put this somewhere cool and we'll cover it with a lid. And we'll be back in 5 minutes. And now it's been 5 minutes resting in the pan with the lid on. I suspect it's going to be perfect. And as you can see, that is rare to medium rare. So we will have a look here as well. And you can see that is exactly medium rare. So we're back to our pan with the juices of the meat and the caramelized little flecks there, and that's just pure flavor. So how are we going to incorporate this flavor into our meat? We're going to add back the garlic, add the cream cheese to the pan, and we're going to incorporate it into the butter. At the same time, as I'm going along, I'm scraping all the caramelized bits off the bottom. So you'll see this sauce very quickly, it will start to darken. As you can see now, our previously messy and oily sauce is incorporated into a lovely, shiny, creamy cheese and garlic. So now we'll finish plating up and we'll show you what it looks like on the plate. And finally, and only at the very end, we will add salt. Adding salt at any point before this will just cause for juice to be drawn out of the steak and you will lose juiciness. So, generous dusting of salt. As you can see, I've got a very important guest here, which is Dimo's cat. And today he'll be eating the meal of his life. There you go. Kotko, Kotko. What's wrong, Kotko? We don't talk anymore.